Matt, welcome to Locked In, man. Where are you coming to us today from?
Shreveport, Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yes.
I got to get to Louisiana. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Good food.
It's not a good place. I'm not a big fan. I've never liked it there, and I've always tried to move. It's like the city just has some kind of way of keeping people there. It's like if I have a plan to get out, then it's like something will happen. I'll go to jail for something stupid, or then have to be on parole, and so yeah.
That's where 50 Cent's like building his whole movie theater.
I heard. I don't know anything about that. I don't know too much about that, but I heard that he already moved out or something.
Oh, already left the city?
He already left, yeah. That's what I heard. I don't know.
Yeah, I see his like posts and stuff, and they were like giving him a bunch of tax credits or something like that.
Right.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, pretty much. My parents divorced when I was really young, and my mom eventually ended up in Shreveport, and then my dad was in East Texas, and so, yeah.
Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have 3 stepbrothers, a half-sister, and then another half-brother. So I grew up with my half-brother, which is my stepdad and my mom's kid.
Did you guys grow up having money at all, or?
Yeah, it was, I take that back. Not real. I mean, it was, I would say like middle class. My parents now have money. Like once I moved out, they kind of, but I didn't grow up with too much money, but it wasn't like we were ever, I ever needed anything, you know what I mean? Or I didn't have what I needed. So.
How impactful do you think the divorce was on you?
I was so young. I think the most impactful thing was they just didn't get along at all. And so like it seemed like any interaction they had, it was always some kind of argument or fight. You know what I mean? And I think that was impactful. Looking back on it now, like that was probably one of the most impactful things, you know what I mean? But as far as like the divorce, I mean, I have my dad's great, and then my stepdad was great too. So I mean, it was just like the interactions they would have. It was a little, probably impactful.
Did you stay close to both of your parents after the divorce?
Yes, yeah. My dad was great. I mean, he always saw me, and like he would, take me hunting and fishing, or, I would go there every other weekend. So it was always something to do, you know what I mean? He was always help me out with football or whatever. So, yeah.
How would people describe you as a kid when you were really young?
I was really quiet, extremely quiet, and I guess shy. You know what I mean? So I was homeschooled, so I wasn't really, my mom and stepdad were really involved in church. And so, that was kind of the only interaction with other people I had. I never really went to school like, normal people. So.
You never went to a public high school? No.
I went to public school when I was in like kindergarten, but no, never went to a public high school.
Do you think that had like a big impact on your social skills later in life?
Probably so. Yeah, it was, I would say so. I mean, once I started driving, I mean, I would go to like high school parties and, it was fun. I just didn't have to go to school. And like I started working full time when I was so young that it was, I was like the kid that had money, but I didn't go to the school, but like I got so partied and stuff. So, you know what I mean? I had a car, money. It was fun.
Did you ever ask your parents why they homeschooled you?
I mean, they were just so religious and in the church thing. And I think my mom was just scared that we were going to be influenced by something. I don't know. I mean, no, I haven't really asked them that, no, but.
Were all your siblings homeschooled?
No, I think I was the only one. But the thing, my brother went to high school. I think with me, it was, I started working really young. Like there's this guy that went to our church and he did floors. And so he asked my stepdad if he could work me. Like at 12 years old, I think, but I was pretty big at 12. So he was like, yeah. And So yeah, I started working full time when I was like 12 or 13 doing like construction.
Yeah, my best friend growing up was homeschooled, and I was always so jealous that they
Yeah.
were homeschooled, and that just like it was a very different way of life for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I hated working that much. I think the second job we ever did, we were doing some wood floors, and we worked till like 1 o'clock in the morning, from like 6 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the morning. That kind of just set the pace for like me working, you know, until I stopped doing that, which was, I guess, when I was like 28, 27, I stopped doing construction.
Do you think it was good to get into the workforce that young?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I have a great work ethic now because of it, but no, I don't think so at all. Because what happened was whenever I got married and, you know, I got married super young and had kids. And so I was like 21 or 22. And then that's when I really started fucking up, like, you know, doing drugs and stuff. And I think it was just because like I never really had that a normal growing up, you know what I mean? And so it was like all this responsibility on top of like, you know, working. And then like I didn't make any, like when you have kids so young, and you get married so young, it's really hard to, what am I trying to say? It's really hard to, I don't know, man. It's just, it's a lot.
Why did you decide to get married that young? Were your parents pushing you? Or?
No, I mean, I just met the one, like the most perfect, most beautiful girl in the world. So, yeah, it was just kind of, you know, one of those things where it's like we were both involved in the church. And so, you know, they kind of push that, you know what I mean? You know, it's good to get married. And so we did.
Are you guys still married?
No.
Okay. You speak so highly of her still, though.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, she's awesome mom to our kids. She's awesome. But yeah, I mean, I was a fuck up and fucked it all up. So,
what do you think was the actual pivotal moment that you know, went down that path at that age? Was it just everything compounding at once?
It was just a lot. You know what I mean? It was, I was working all the time. We didn't want to have kids that young. I mean, we literally got married. I think I was 20. She was 21. And like the first month we were married, she was pregnant. And so it was like, we weren't expecting that. And it was just like a lot of pressure. We didn't make money. Neither one of us had any money. And we had like this small condo. And it was just a whole lot. It was just a whole lot.
Did you want to go to college at all? Or did you already make up in your mind you weren't going to college?
I was told kind of by every man in my life that if you wanted to make money, you have to be your own boss. And so, no, I kind of had it in my mind that like I was going to start a construction business, which I ended up doing. And I thought that was going to be that was the way to go if you wanted to make money, which it turned out like I never made money doing that.
Will you give your kids that same advice or no?
No, definitely not. I think that they need to go to school. I mean, it's really just whatever you do, what you want to do. I think the most important thing in life is just doing having a job that you enjoy to do, whether you're making a lot of money or not a lot of money. As long as you enjoy your job, I think, you know, that's probably a lot more important.
Yeah. Like if you're miserable, you don't want to go to that same job every day. But I know business owners that are miserable, and then you know people that work a 9 to 5 that are miserable, and vice versa, whether they're happy or not at their job.
That's right. Yeah. It's crazy. So when I started working at FedEx, and when I kind of got a job working by the hour for this piping company or steel company. And then from there, I started working at FedEx. And once I did that, man, I was like, this is great. Like this steady paycheck, like, because when you're in construction, owning your own business, you may make $5,000-$6,000 in a week, but then not work for 2 months, or the next job you get on just kind of like, you know, you lose money or whatever, or a saw breaks or something. It's just...
Yeah, it could set you, but you really never know.
You never know.
Like, and then you get the weekly paycheck work. There's a lot of perks to working for someone else.
There's a lot of perks.
Like I miss that about Whole Foods. Those, you know, bi-weekly or weekly paychecks. Now I don't get paid. I get paid once a month, you know, once every couple months. Yeah. It's totally different.
It's crazy.
So what do you start getting into once you have your kid, or around that time when you're 20?
I think, are you talking about like drugs,
alcohol?
What really killed me was gambling. Like I started, that's kind of the only thing to do in Shreveport is gamble. Like we don't have a mall. I mean, we have some malls, but it's just so run down. Like there's nothing to do there besides gamble. And so I think gambling was a huge thing. I don't gamble anymore. I haven't gambled in a long time, but that was a pretty big deal. And then from there, I started drinking a lot and doing cocaine. I wasn't really doing drugs, and before that, I hadn't done any drugs. So I was kind of like the first.
What attracted you to gambling?
The money. I remember I could go in there and so I had 2 employees. I could go in there with like $300 and sit down at the blackjack table for an hour and then have their whole payroll and pay them and just get to keep all the money. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I liked it at first, but then it became really dark. Like it's just like a really dark place. You look around like, man, this is such a dark atmosphere. You know what I mean?
And there's no worse feeling, I think, in the world than being up and then leaving with nothing.
Nothing.
Like literally being sick, losing everything. Because I've had so many of those nights.
Dude, I remember one time I was playing blackjack and I had like $100 or $300, and I got down to my last 100, and I was at like a $25 table, and I remember getting all the way up to like $7,000 in not that much time, like maybe a couple hours, and that's really hard to do. I remember like betting like $700 on a hand, and then like getting 2 8s or something, and then splitting them, and then like getting a 3 and then doubling down again, and like I won all of it. And I remember I walked away from the table and went and put $100 in the slot machine and won like another $1,000, and ended up like losing it all. Like it all. Like I had like $8,000, and like within like a couple more hours it was like, and that was the shittiest fucking feeling. Like leaving the casino with no money. Like what the fuck? I just had $8,000 in my pocket.
So did you need the money to pay your staff, or would you have been fine without it?
No, I would have been fine. Yeah, I would have been fine. I mean, yeah, it was just like greedy, like, that gambling mentality, It's crazy.
Was there any history of drugs, alcohol, or gambling in your family?
I think so. Yeah, there's definitely a history of alcohol, which that's not something that I deal with. I mean, like I'll drink like every blue moon, but like I've never been much of a drinker. But definitely alcohol. Drugs, I mean, I'm sure there was, but, it's not something that, I think anybody in my family likes to talk about.
So would you say the gambling losses led to drinking for you?
No, I was definitely drinking before that. Like I was always playing music. So, whenever we'd play music, we were always at a bar. And, but just drinking wasn't really ever too big of a thing for me. You know what I mean? I liked it, but it just wasn't ever, something that like just hooked me to where it's like I felt really good when I did it. You know what I mean? It was more like just doing it because I'm here. You know what I mean?
Did your wife at the time know you were gambling?
She did. And I even think we went to the casino like one time. We went on a date, and like I took her and was trying to show her I play blackjack. But she didn't know the extent. No, she did not know the extent of it. I don't think. I think that whole thing, like the gambling thing, maybe only lasted 6 months, and then since then, I haven't done it at all. You know what I mean? If I go to the casino, I'll just watch. I won't even play. It's like there's nothing in my brain that's like wants me to spend any money because I know you're just going to lose. Like even if you win, you're going to lose. And that's what I try to tell people because all my friends gamble. It's like, dude, you're going to fucking lose, man. Even if you think that you're winning, you're really going to lose like in the long run. You can't win.
Yeah, I had a very lucky streak in the beginning, like when I was playing Baccarat. And then when you add up my losses at the end, because I was like trying to pay bills for the club I used to own.
Right.
If I just didn't go with that $500 or $1,000 several times, I would have been better off.
Right.
And just, delaying the vendors and telling them, hey, I'll have your money soon. I would have been better off saying that than going to the casino, trying to win the money and losing the money.
Right.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
So what happens next? Do you guys get divorced right away? Or?
No. Like, so I get, so I think I started doing like a lot of cocaine. Like I was doing, which is so weird to talk about this because I don't talk about, I don't ever, like I was always the type to think like if you have a problem, you just don't tell anyone because once you tell people, they're going to, always associate you with that or whatever. So, but anyway, I started doing a lot. Like I remember buying 7 grams, which was a lot, and thinking like I'll just have this, for a while. And then I remember making up a line like this big and being like, I'm just gonna do this one line and then I'll be good. And I do it, and then ended up doing like the whole thing. And I think I almost died. Like I had like I think the doctor said like a mild stroke or something. And so once I was in the hospital, my mom and stepdad found out. And I think maybe I after that, I did it maybe a couple more times. And then I remember being somewhere and just being like, I'm done with this shit. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks. Like, it doesn't feel good. And so at 21, I quit. I don't remember if I quit gambling but I definitely quit doing drugs. And so from the time I was 21 till I guess about 28, like the marriage started getting really bad, and then I started doing drugs again. But it wasn't, I didn't do cocaine. I was more so on Adderall, just trying to work as much as I could, and then you know what I mean.
That mindset of don't talk about your problems, where did that come from? Was that something that was taught to you?
It's something that I still do to this day. Like, I don't know if it's something that taught to me. I just noticed that whenever somebody would find out about, for instance, like my parent or my mom and stepdad would find out I did cocaine. It's kind of like they always, like if you have problems, they always relate it to that. So it's like when I was going through a divorce, well, he's being this way because he must be doing drugs. Whenever it's not the drugs, it's like I'm doing the drugs to kind of put a Band-Aid over the real problem that's happening. You know what I mean? So since then, it's like once I realized I could do certain things and like be normal and go to work and be like a normal person, I just stopped. I don't really tell anybody about certain things. Now, if I have problems, I will. If I need advice, I'll ask people. But as far as like addiction stuff, it's like I try to keep that as quiet as possible, which is weird being here, like talking about it, because it's like I never talk about it. You know what I mean? I never talk about certain things. I mean, the people that are really close to me know, but that's usually only like one person. You know what I mean? It's usually the person that I'm with or whatever girl I'm with. You mean there's no like, anyway.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people feel that same way. So many people don't, because it's not the norm to talk about it.
Right. And it's like people are very judgmental, and it's crazy how people are, but it's like, it's just crazy. Even like people that are on drugs are very judgmental towards, people that aren't on the same drugs that they're on or the way they do it. It's just crazy how people are. I mean, but it is what it is. But I figured out at a young age that, just don't tell anybody and handle your shit and everything will be good. You know what I mean? Functioning addict, I guess.
So what happens when you're 28?
Me and my wife at the time were just not doing good. And there was a lot of stuff going on in the whole church thing. And rewind a little bit, like whenever we were getting married, like the day before we're getting married, like we've been through marriage counseling with them and everything's good. They bring us into their office, like they need to talk to us. And it's like everyone, like the whole church staff is in this office. And they're like, we don't think y'all need to get married. And so these are people that my wife like looks up to a lot. And they're like, we don't need to get married. Like, what the fuck? Like, we're getting married tomorrow. Like, it's a big wedding too. Like, her dad had money. I mean, we had a nice wedding. Like, and y'all gonna tell us the day before we're getting married. So she's crying. Like, I mean, these are people it doesn't bother me as much, but these are people she really looks up to. Like, there's this lady from out of town that's like, this prophet lady or whatever, and she's there and like, yeah, God told me that you aren't supposed to get married. And so from that time on, like we kept going to church there. It kind of put like a bad taste in my mouth, but she's kind of had this, you know what I mean? They're kind of like pushing her towards that, you know what I mean? So whenever I kind of start falling off again, because after the cocaine thing, I got clean for a long time and was working, but life was just kind of sucked because we didn't have money. But, you know, when I started really falling off again and having problems, I think that's when, you know, shit started going down like that with them. And so which just caused me to just spiral out of control because I'm like, you people are insane. You know what I mean? This is crazy. And so I would go and like try to talk to them about certain things and they would just kind of shun me off like I was the dark cloud or whatever, and whatever she said went. And so like we didn't have this healthy balance at all, you know what I mean? Like whatsoever. And so, I mean, that's kind of when I fell off again. I mean, I really fell off during that time.
Do you think a lot of your addiction issues revolved around money or stem from money?
I think some of them, yeah. But I mean, because that was always a big deal. Like we literally never had money. And so we ended up having 3 kids. By the time I was like 25, we had 3 kids. And I remember she called me at work to tell me she was pregnant again. I threw up, like, and it wasn't the fact that like I was scared. It was just like I knew that like we couldn't, like, how in the fuck are we gonna do this? You know what I mean? Like, how are we gonna fucking do this? And you know, somehow, I mean, she's awesome. She really is. And so I think that's really, if it wasn't for her being such a selfless person, like, there's no way like we could have done it. But you know, she's superwoman in a way. So
tell us about your spiral.
So yeah. So this is when I started going to jail. I think I went to jail for the first time. I mean, I started doing Adderall, and then I remember being at work with my helper dude, and he was like, you know, like meth is exactly the same as Adderall. And I was like, really? Because I mean, I didn't know anything about meth. So I get home and like Google it, and it's like, sure enough, it's the same. So the next day I'm dropping him off at I can't remember where we were at, but anyway, this random guy just comes up to my truck, was like, hey, do you fuck with meth? I was like, no, but I will. You got some? And he was like, yeah. So I ended up buying some, and I remember doing it for the first time, like snorting it or whatever I did, and I was like, holy shit, like this is my drug. Like I found it. And I remember telling him like, dude, I'm going to be on this for a long time because it's like, this is it. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what I was missing. Like everything felt like it clicked in my head, you know what I mean? And I felt normal, you know? And so I started doing that. And once I started doing that, like, fuck work, you know what I mean? I'll just figure something else out. And from there, like, I went to jail. I got pulled over and I had a warrant for a seatbelt ticket in this little town outside of Shreveport. And so he ends up pulling me out of the car and, like, putting me in handcuffs. And he comes back to the car with, like, these big buds of weed. And I was like, that's not mine. Like, and I just cleaned out my truck, so I knew it wasn't mine or whatever. And then he was like, then he came back, he's like, I know that you don't look like you're on this, but I found this too. And it was like a meth pipe, and that was mine. I was like, fuck. So anyway, yeah, that was my first time going to jail, and that's kind of where, like, at the time it was hard to get. So it's like you had to be involved in this small community of tweakers to like even get it. And I didn't know anyone. So I think I just kind of had to weasel my way into this really dark, you know, group of people to kind of like, to just get the drug because it was so hard to get at the time. And I think that's whenever shit really, for a while, like I think for the next like 4 years, I got a divorce. You know, just all kinds of crazy, terrible shit happened. I went to jail like 3 or 4 more times. It was just crazy time.
Is meth actually like Adderall? Or?
It's very similar to me. Like, I think from the, you know, it affects people differently for sure. Because there's some people that do it and just get like wide-eyed and crazy, and then, you know, want to go steal, you know, or break into people's cars. But then you have other people like, they can do it and they just levels them out, you know what I mean? Kind of calms them down. So I think it definitely affects people differently.
Do you think you lost your work ethic while on meth?
No, but it was just one of those things where it's like I was so tired of doing the whole construction thing and having to work, and I was getting into like I wasn't getting into, but I had started doing a lot of like custom work, where it's like showers and custom tile work, and it's just a real pain in the ass. And it was one of those things where I was just like sick of it. I don't think drugs had anything to do with that. I was just sick of it. And so, but then it's like, I think drugs kind of maybe made it to where it was like easier just not to do it. You know what I mean? Because you kind of feel good, and you're like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, you know, I'm not going to do this. You know what I mean? So, and I was getting a divorce anyway, so it was kind of one of those things where it was like, you know, whatever.
What about some of those other arrests that you went through?
I think the main one was not the main one, but I had started doing, so I quit working, and then I had started doing like a lot of like, you know, check fraud, and I got a connection to get like counterfeit money, and I started doing a lot of stuff like that, and it doesn't pay, you know what I mean? But it pays, but it's almost like gambling, where it's like you might hit, you might not, but in the end, you're just going to lose. And so I started doing just a lot of like really shitty things like that. And in my head, I'm thinking like, it's okay because I'm not stealing from anybody. I'm just, because the bank's going to pay them back, you know what I mean? And because I've always been really against like stealing from people. I was always into like you know, if it had to do with an institution or fucking stealing shit from Walmart or whatever, like I would do something like that, but I wouldn't steal from people. But yeah.
What would you do when it came to check fraud?
Dude, I had like a whole setup. Like I had the printer with the magnetic ink, the checks. And so I was, I'd figured out, I was really into like the dark net or whatever, and like tour and all that, like getting drugs off the market and stuff. So then I found like a vendor that would sell like like a picture of the check. And I was going in there and, you know, just changing some numbers around and then printing the checks off. And very rarely did it actually work, but there was a few times that it worked.
How much money would you get when it did work?
I mean, like not that much, a couple $1,000, I think was the most I ever got. So
did they ever catch you for that?
Yes, they did. And what's crazy was I had printed some checks. Okay, so this girl I knew somebody she knew had stole some checks from this company. And so she just wanted me to print off some checks with her name on it, you know, where they look legit. And she ended up, I did it for so cheap, like a little bit of meth or something, like, and I printed like these checks. I was like, look, don't make these for too much. You know what I mean? Like just do like little amounts, and don't go here to cash them. Like don't go to this liquor store because they're going to. So like she ends up doing like $10,000 or $20,000 or something, and goes to the place I told her not to go to. She gets busted and she ends up ratting on me. And so from there, the detective had been investigating me, and I didn't realize it, but he knew everything. He just didn't know who I was. And so once she ratted on me, he put all this stuff together, and I had already went to jail. We ended up getting busted. Okay, so I went to sell some drugs to this girl, and it was an undercover sting. So they busted me, but I didn't have any drugs. I can't remember if I was going to I think she had stolen from me, so I was just going to try to rip her off. And had my buddy come pick me up, and we went up there to meet her, and she's like, I'm right here. And then we seen the cop cars behind us, and it was like a whole SWAT of people came down. And I was like, shit. I was like, but I don't have anything. Like, I didn't have anything. And so we ended up having some, he had some shit, like a pill or something. And then they ended up charging me. I had some rock salt or Epsom. I can't remember what I had, but we had it was the rock salt that you make ice cream with. If you put that in a cooler with like regular ice, any cheap cooler will turn into a Yeti cooler. It keeps ice for forever. So I had poured some of that in a cooler and had the box there, and they ended up charging me with that because I had a scale in there too. So they charged me with like 2 ounces of like counterfeit Schedule II, and like blew my picture up on the paper at the front. I was like, I wasn't even doing that. But from there, while I was in jail, I had the check printer in the back of the car, and that detective called like their, fraud detective or whatever. And so I got arrested, and then that's when the girl ratted on me or whatever. And he put 2 and 2 together. And when I looked at my motion, he knew everything. He just didn't know who I was. Like, I mean, he knew like I had bought some checks from the dude off the dark net from this lady in Texas or something with like Capital One Bank. He knew about literally everything, but he just didn't know who I was. And once she ratted on me, he put two and two together.
So the checks you were buying, were they just regular people's like normal?
No, they were all
checks?
like business checks or and I think that the one I'm talking about right now was like it was like a personal account, but most of the checks that I was doing was all business, colleges, or in my mind I'm thinking if they have a lot of money in the bank, if I just take a little bit out, they're not going to know, and if they do know, the bank's just going to pay them right back. So in my mind, I'm not thinking I'm doing anything that bad. You know what I mean?
And these people on the dark web get them from hacking them?
I have no idea.
Okay. And how much would you pay for a fraud?
Not much.
Check?
I mean, like $20 or something. I mean, the guy I was buying from would guarantee certain ones, like a business account. I guarantee you there's this amount in here. I guarantee you this check number hasn't been cashed before. So yeah. And I think those were like $100, $120.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how hard is it to find these sellers?
It wasn't hard at the time. But this was a long time ago. This is probably close to 10 years ago now. So at the time, it wasn't hard, but it was kind of at the end of it, you know what I mean? But I don't think people even do. I know they do, but it's not really a big deal. I mean, because it's like the banks and stuff have so much of those fraud things set up that I don't think too many people are doing it now.
Did they ever threaten you with like a Fed case or anything from this type of stuff?
No, but I mean, I was involved in that later on when I had gotten into like selling a lot of drugs at one point, but no, not during that time. It was all local, and those detectives, like they really in Shreveport, like I think we have like one of the best murder detectives, and those like white collar fraud detective dudes, they're really on top of it. Like when I read all that, I was like, God, this dude really knows, So he ended up coming to the jail, and he was like, look, you can be honest with me and tell me, and I'm, what they all do. We're going to let you off easy, and or you can not, and like I'm going to fuck you off pretty much. And I sat there for a minute because I don't talk to police at all, ever, for any reason. And I sat there for a minute, just kind of put my head down and just thought about it. I was like, you know what? I was like, yeah, dude, I did it. And he was like, all right. And he let me off really easy. I think they charged me with like monetary abuse and 2 counts of fraud, and that was it. And so, and then the girl that ratted on me, I don't think she got charged with anything. And he had this list of people, and he was like, you see anybody on this list that where I was like, I mean, he was like, you know why she's not on it is because she's sleeping with a DA or something. It's like, that's crazy. I don't think she got charged at all.
How much time do you end up getting for that?
I got 3 years for that.
So that's in a county jail, or you went to an actual prison?
Yeah, I went to, I mean, there's not, so we have satellite camps. They call them satellite camps. And what they are is they're just jails that are, pretty much, I think there's only 2 or 3 prisons in Louisiana, but there's like hundreds of satellite camps. But no, I did my time at the jail, which is, it's terrible. It's the worst jail. Like, okay, so you have a cell that's 2 bunks, and then, you got the table and the sink. And in jail there, they have 3 people in those cells. They have these boats. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. I don't know if too many people do it, but every cell has 3 people in it. It's crazy. And you're locked down like 22 hours a day. So it's like maximum security no matter what. You could be in there on like the most minor shit, and you're going to be locked down for 23 hours a day.
Were you able to get a job at all to get out of your cell?
It's very hard because it's such a big jail, and you have to, it's such a big jail, and you got everyone trying to get out, and you have to have all these. Yeah, I did. Well, once you get sentenced, it's, you can get a job being a trustee. And I think that time I was in the kitchen, but it was like the last 2 or 3 months.
Oh, that's it? You had to go your whole time without having a job?
Yeah.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's horrible.
Were you staying sober during that time?
Yeah, for sure. So every time I got out, I was on a good path. When I got out of jail that time, I was I stayed sober, and that's when I started. I mean, I say sober. I mean, I don't think I've ever been like fully sober, but yeah, I mean, I was, you know, I don't want to say sober because I'm trying to be as honest as possible, but yeah, I mean, it was, I was definitely had the mindset of like, I got to get shit done. If it means like being completely sober, I will, you know what I mean? Whatever I had to do, if I knew I had to take a drug test or whatever, like I'm 100% sober. But I wouldn't say that like that's ever really been in my mind to be 100%. Even now, like I'm not 100% sober now. I don't think I'll ever be, you know what I mean? I like certain things. Like I like tripping acid once a year. You know what I mean? I don't think I ever stopped doing that because I mean, it's not hurting anybody. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think I'll ever be 100% sober.
Do you have like an allotted week blocked off for
I
your
don't.
acid
It's just
trip?
like whenever it happens, you know what I mean? Yeah, I remember one time me and my friend, we did acid on New Year's, and that was like the best time I've ever had in my entire life. Like, why would I not want to do this? You know what I mean? Like, why would I not want to? But it's one of those things where it's like, I know that it's like, I can't do this every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a intense mind fuck that it's like, I don't even want to do this every day, but it's fun like once or twice a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you do DMT, like, you don't want to leave your body and go to another dimension every day. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just too intense.
How was your relationship with your parents during that time, you know, mid-30s or early 30s now?
It's all my relationship with my parents has always been good, but I think that if I'm going through something really heavy, I kind of push everybody away just because I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to, and I think it's harder for my dad because he wasn't around me as much, and it's like he'll call and I'll forget to call him back. And then, you know, one thing leads to another. And he's always like, man, like I've been trying to fucking call you. Like, what's the deal? You know what I mean? Just call me back. And it's one of those things where it's like, I just don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk about jail or why this happened or, you know what I mean? And it's like, I know that's what I'm going to have to do. You know what I mean? So it just, I don't think I push, I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely weird.
So what happens next when you get out that time?
So I get out and that time, and by this time I'm divorced. I think I got divorced, like the actual paperwork is done in jail. And I had to go to court, actually. I can't remember if I definitely was in Orange, but I think when it was finalized, I was in jail. That was a little rough. I'm noticed in jail, like anytime you have to deal with any personal like issues like that, like it's a lot harder. Having to go to like family court in Orange is terrible. So I get out and I think that time, like I realized that part was over with, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm never going to get her back and my marriage is over. So it's like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to, and rewind a little bit before I got arrested for the check fraud, like I was really into selling drugs. I was going to Arkansas, I think it was, and I was getting like pounds of meth. Like it was a lot. And anyway, that dude, so I'm sitting in the car. I would go to meet him on the side of the highway, and I met him a couple times. And this time he decides to tell me, like, I just got out of the feds. I'm on bond from the feds. And we're sitting there in his car. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's got all these fucking guns in the back. Like, I mean, like machine guns, like holy shit, dude, why do you have all these guns? He's like, because if they pull up on me, like we're going, and like we're gonna show them. And I'm trying to be cool because this dude, he's a cool dude, like super nice, but it's like I'm trying to just be cool. I don't want to spook him, you know what I mean? And in my mind, I'm thinking like, you don't get, if you're in there for any kind of drug charge, you don't get a bond for that unless you're ratting. So I'm trying to just be cool. I had no idea. I've bought from this dude a couple times, and I had no idea he's on bond from the feds because he got caught with like 10 kilos of meth and cocaine. And I'm thinking, fuck, what the fuck? And so he's like, yeah, man, if they pull up on us, we're going. It's like, what I'm trying to just be cool. So anyway, everything's good. I go back. He ends up getting busted like again the next day. And I don't want to say he was ratting on people because I don't know, but it was like huge federal thing. I mean, I think they arrested like 100 people. It was like this huge deal. And I don't know why they didn't arrest me because I was on his voicemail and they had his phone tapped the whole time. Like they heard conversations we had. I don't know why they didn't. I think they just had so many people that they didn't mess with it. But
was the voicemail incriminating?
I don't know, but I'm sure it was. I mean, I don't know.
So did you pick up doing that right after you got out? Then that's
no. This is before that. I got busted for the fraud and all that.
Okay. So maybe that kind of saved you.
Maybe so, because I remember he getting popped and like once he got arrested, like I quit doing all that. Like I realized that it's like I'm not gonna go. Dude, I remember like having a gun. Like I had a Glock, but it was not for like protection because I mean I wasn't scared about that. But it was more like, if I'm coming back from Arkansas, which there's nothing but police from Shreveport to Hot Springs, there's nothing but police. And it's like real strict. If you go 1 mile over speed limit, pull you over. And I remember thinking like, if I get pulled over with 2 pounds of meth, like I'm just going to get out and point and it's going to be over with. You know what I mean? I'm not going to prison for fucking 20 years for this. You know what I mean? And I remember having to pull over because I'd be so fucking just out of my mind. I remember like, texting my ex-wife. I mean, I think maybe we hadn't gotten divorced at this time. No, we hadn't gotten divorced at this time. It's just like, or making a video for my kids. Like, I'm thinking like, man, something's going to happen. You know what I mean? This is crazy with what I'm doing. But then I would go and then it was so much money. It's so hard to stop doing that. You know what I mean? Because I mean, it was like, I finally had money, you know what I mean? But it's like, you're always trying to re-up or you have to pay for hotel rooms because you don't have a house or an apartment or something crazy is always going on. But so anyway, I quit doing it, quit all this selling drugs like shit after that. Then I go to jail for the fraud. I get out of jail and I had gotten divorced and I just wanted to do good at this point. And I got a job. I lived with my parents, got a job making like $8 an hour at this meat plant, like the shittiest job ever. And the owner's like just a huge asshole, talks down to everybody, thinks you're making too much money. And like, I was making like $400 every other week. And, but I just kept doing it. You know what I mean? I had this mindset of like, I have to do this. And I remember calling. So Louisiana has this like workforce thing. And I got it signed up with that. And the dude got me the $8 an hour job. I called him and I was like, hey, I can't do this anymore, man. And I'm not making any money at all. Like, what, there's nothing to look forward to. Like, the dude wants to give me like a 25-cent raise and I only make $8 an hour. So I worked there for like 3 or 4 months. He called me back the next day and was like, hey, I got you a different job. It's a $15 an hour. I'm working at this factory and I got it. And I fucking loved it. It was like the first time that I had a normal job where I'm getting a normal paycheck, insurance, like, I loved it, everything about it. And from there, like I moved out of my parents and got my own place. And it was like the first time I ever had my own place, like since I had split up with my wife and everything was just good. And then one day I was texting this girl I was seeing at the time. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to work here anymore. You know what I mean? And I remember texting my boss like, hey, I'm not going to show up today. I don't know why, but I appreciate it. I loved working here. And I don't remember what my mindset was, but I had signed up for unemployment and I got approved for like $200 a week. And I was like, I'm just going to make this $200 a week again and get by until I figure out what I'm supposed to do. Well, then Corona hit and within 2 weeks, that $200 a week turned into like $800 a week. And it was like, wow. So it's like, I just, like did music and just, I got a dog and just like lived like 8 months getting that check from the government. And then once I saw that was going to come out, I just randomly decided to apply for FedEx. And they emailed me like a couple months later. It's like, hey, we want to come in for an interview. I was like, surely not. You know what I mean? I ended up finished my parole and got all my shit expunged. So I didn't have anything on my record. And
all the charges, every criminal charge? Every
criminal charge besides the misdemeanors, oddly enough. So I went in for the interview and got the job at FedEx. And I was like, this is crazy. Because this job is awesome. And fucking loved that job so fucking much. My manager and stuff were just awesome. That's a great company. FedEx is an awesome company. And started driving for them and making great money. And yeah. Yep. Good times. I think I did it for 2 years.
Wait, so the unemployment, were you not on the books for the meat place? Like, why were you able to just go apply for unemployment?
Because I was working for the factory, the steel factory. And I don't know if everything I did was legal. I think I may have told them, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I think I may have told them that, like, I think if you get fired or whatever, I can't remember what happened.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly. I don't want to say something and then the workforce of Louisiana come down on me. But yeah, it was because there was a lot of people doing fraud during that time, especially in Louisiana. There was a lot of people getting those loans, and I never did anything like that. You know, at that time I wasn't really into like trying to defraud anybody or do anything illegal really. I just felt like I was supposed to do it. I felt like, you know what I mean? And I think they were laying a lot of people off too. And I thought I maybe saw it coming. And so I just kind of got out of there before all that happened.
Did prison help you get clean? Going to jail help you get clean? Or did you struggle with using again after? Or what did that look like? Yeah,
I mean, I think that time in jail when I got out and started doing good, I don't think my mindset was just, it wasn't to be clean, or I don't think jail helps at all, really. There's certain programs, and there's this program at that jail that's like a drug program, but I'm not big on the rehab thing. I think it's all kind of set up to keep people coming back and keep people just kind of like the jails are. I think once somebody really wants to be done, they can be done, like mind over matter. I know that there's certain drugs that I've always done the drugs where you get mentally addicted to them. I've never done the drugs that are physically addictive, where if you quit, you're going to be sick or, you know, in pain or whatever. So it may be different for those people, but I've always kind of had the thoughts that, you know, if somebody wants to quit, they're going to quit. You know what I mean? Because I've seen too many people go to rehab because they think that that's what they're supposed to do, but then they get out and it's like they do good for a couple months and they're right back in it. And then they go to rehab again. Well, these rehabs are making a lot of money. You know what I mean? They're making a lot of money. And the more people, you know, the government pays them for some, I don't know. I don't think jail helped. If anything, jail makes things a lot worse.
Yeah, I always wonder with the rehabs, what the true intention is between behind some of these individuals that run the rehabs or, you know, get into that recovery world, because they are making a ton of money off of individuals.
It's crazy.
You know? Like it really is crazy to see on people's downfalls, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about how that, like, if there's a way to weed out who are the good ones who are genuinely doing it, who, you know, I know there are some people that want the places to close down because then, like, as owners, they know that things are happening in the right direction in the world. Like, people don't need those houses. But then there's some people that own the sober houses or the rehabs that would never want it to close down because they're making too much money.
Right. And I think that's how it is. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to comment on it. I mean, my deal is like, why are you telling people that drugs are okay. So if someone's doing drugs, in my mind, I think they're doing drugs because they're trying to numb something or they're trying to get over something. And so it's like, but I've noticed that most rehabs will teach you that once you get off drugs, everything in your life will start working out. And I know that's the case for some people, but for a lot of people that get off drugs and then that wound is still there and the drugs, it was kind of just a Band-Aid over it. You ripped it off and now it's just exposed. And it's like people are they thought that when they got off drugs and getting a job and having money and getting this and that was going to help, but it doesn't, because that thing's still there. You know what I mean? I think that's where people relapse a lot, because you're not healing the actual thing that's wrong with someone, you know, because the drugs are just the Band-Aid. You know what I mean? In my opinion, I don't know if I could be wrong, but.
How do you think you were as a parent during your spiral phase of your life?
Man, that's a tough question to have, and it's something I deal with all the time, because, like, I don't think I've ever really been a good parent. You know, it's just like we had kids so young, and it's like I wasn't there a lot, and it's like I was such a terrible, I was such a terrible person, but I was such a selfish person that it's like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I love my kids and we have a great relationship, but I don't know if I've ever really been a good parent. I don't feel like I have, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like even now, like I told my ex-wife the other day, like, I don't feel like a dad. I just feel like I'm their friend, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like a dad, you know what I mean? So that's a tough subject.
How do you make amends with that? How do you make peace with that?
I don't know. I don't think I'll ever have amends or peace with that. You know what I mean? It's like, I know there will come a day whenever, because they don't live in the same city as me now. They live in Texas, and so it's hard for me to get over there and see them. But I don't know, man. I don't think I'll ever make amends with that. And that's one thing, like I remember watching that like 3 years ago, whatever, I had got internet and they gave me like a subscription to HBO. And that's where I saw was Generation Hustle.
Oh, you watched a Generation Hustle?
Yeah, like 3 years ago.
You're one of the OGs,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
So I remember watching that, and then I watched the first one. I was like, this show is awesome. And then I think the second or third episode, I was at my girlfriend's house, and we watched it, and it was your episode. And I remember like thinking like, man, like this dude, like, why is he even going to prison? You know what I mean? Like, what the? And so, but I remember like the interviews with your dad and stuff, it was like completely different than when you sat down and talked to your dad. It's like, dude, your dad is fucking awesome.
He's a gangster.
Dude, he is the coolest, like, holy shit. Like, and I think that comes from having kids older. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when you're older, you have wisdom. Like at 21, you're just still a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had me at 50.
Yeah,
he turned 79 this weekend, actually. And he's just, you know, he's good. That's where I get the work ethic. You know, he's go, great guy, always been there for me. And he's lived so much in life. Like, you've seen so many things.
Dude, it's all, I mean, like the conversation I had and just the shit he says and like, you could tell in that documentary of the show or whatever, they were kind of making him more so out to be like the you know, like he kind of was like egged you on or not egged you on, but was like I don't know. They made him out to be a little bit different than he actually is.
Yeah, I would say. But the one thing I do respect about that documentary is that in my opinion, did not shine a good light on the government. They made them come off as like overzealous prosecutors that
was ridiculous. And let me ask you something, dude, because I've been dying to ask you this.
Yeah, ask me whatever.
If you wouldn't have bought those fucking jet skis.
Oh, there would have been no case.
No, that is insane to me.
It was all on that's in every article you read about me. They say lavish lifestyle. Okay, great. That's what you use to call all fraudsters. But then when they list after, it's jet skis.
Yeah, dude, that was insane.
The clothes we bought, I bought one outfit that I got rid of after. Otherwise, I wore khaki shorts and a black T-shirt. Like the prosecutor even says in the documentary, when he first met me, I was in cargo shorts and a T-shirt.
Right.
And then the trips we took were with the other investors. It was so silly. Dude. We invested more of the money than we actually spent illegitimately. And also the jet skis we had for 3 weeks. And then I traded it to a pawn shop because we needed the money to pay the investors. And the pawn shop took advantage of me because I didn't know that all I had to do was bring the interest payment and I could go another month. I thought I had to have the full amount. So they got these $23,000 jet skis for like $7,000 or $6,000. It was crazy.
That's crazy, man.
They were brand new. There was no hours on them, barely any hours. Crazy. But yeah, I think that was really the downfall. The jet skis. Yeah,
I think so too. The whole time I'm thinking like, what did he? So they have to prove your intentions.
Exactly. That's why we went to trial.
Yeah.
And that's why the verdict didn't make sense because half the charges were not guilty. So how am I have no intent to defraud on some, but intent in another, and it's all the same time period.
So at the end of that episode, and they said you went to prison or whatever, I was like, what?
Yeah, I did 3 years. I loved how they put my business partner at the end saying John Roble refused to participate in this documentary.
Yeah.
Which makes it pretty much states he's a rat.
Yeah. The other guy, I didn't really like the other guy. I don't know him, but he was just
Which guy?
Kind of the one that his dad maybe have given.
Oh, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and he was someone that wasn't owed a lot of money. What I found with my whole case is that the people that were owed the most amount didn't care.
Yeah.
Like would never have gone to the police that we could have figured it out civilly.
Right.
And the people that were owed the least amount of money made the biggest fuss.
Right.
And went to the police and said they lost everything over a couple $1,000s.
And
we were all kids.
They probably had a lot of money too.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was literally me and my parents were talking about this the other night.
Jet skis.
How could we take it back? It was the best thing. Like you wouldn't be sitting right there if I didn't,
Right.
So.
And that's awesome that you're using it for, I thought it was crazy too at the end of that episode, you had like the girl you were working with or whatever, it's like, I don't think he'll ever change.
Oh, she was in my life for 2 weeks, Amber. Literally ridiculous. And also guys, for everyone listening, the HBO doc's not up anymore, but if you DM me or email me, on like Instagram or whatever, I'll send you the link. I still got the private link.
It was a great show.
I was actually having dinner last night with one of the producers on that show.
It's a great show.
We're going to have him on the show to give his perspective too. And Syed Abarb, he was on my show.
Yeah.
He was on one of the episodes of Generation Hustle.
Oh, really? I have to look that up. I didn't know that.
He was Teen Ponzi or whatever.
Yeah, I watched that episode.
Yeah, the college Ponzi scam. Yeah, he was on my show, and he talks about his prison sentence and
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was on like 2 months ago. He had just gotten out of prison a couple of years ago. They put him through the ringer. But it's interesting to see him. So when he was going into prison, that's when the documentary had just came out. And at that point, I had already gotten out of prison, finishing up probation, seeing like these different evolutions or like different paths, at different times. I saw a young him, even though he's older than me, in me when I was first going into prison, just mindset-wise.
Right. It's weird, like when you go in there for the first time. It's definitely like now, and I realized like I don't watch. So when I first got out, I seen you. I was on TikTok or something. Seen you. Was like, this is the dude from that documentary, or whatever. This is crazy. He does a podcast, and it was interesting. But it's like now I don't like to hear all the prison stuff. It's not. I don't know if I have PTSD, but it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't make me feel good. Like, listening to the prison stuff or whatever. And I remember like watching a couple weeks ago being like, God damn, like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to talk about fucking prison. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like, I personally don't like to relive it because when I'm there, like, I know how to do it. So it's like, I know how to rewire my brain into thinking like, this is fun. And if you talk to anybody that's like done time with me, like they'll tell you like, he's insane. Like, cause I'll just be in there like, dude, this is fucking great. Like we're having the time of our lives. You know what I mean? And so when you normalize that environment and all the shit that goes on in there, when you get out, it's hard to rewire your brain to, like that was not fucking fun. Like, you know what I mean? But if you're always on alert, you're always having to like watch your back and you think that's normal, your brain is processing that as normal. When you get out, it's like, you kind of have to, I don't know, it's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cool thing about the show and what I do is not every episode's about prison.
I think it's great. And
it's not just about prison,
Right.
And I was reading a comment because I read all my comments and reviews like on Spotify and I try to respond to all of them.
Yeah.
And someone was like, big fan of the show, but I think less is more in regards to because I do 5 episodes a week. And just because some are not as exciting as others. And what he means by that is like it's not a crazy crime story or a crazy prison stuff. But I think like with my purposes, it's my job with what I've been given to have people's stories that anyone that wants to come on, give them a safe place to talk about it, whether it's an addiction story, a prison, a law enforcement or whatever. And not every episode's going to be a Hell's Angels president sitting down with you. But I think it's cool that if I produce it in high quality, like in the studio and put these episodes out, it gives people a catalog to choose from.
Right.
Where they could say, all right, I don't like this episode, but there was 4 others this week that I could choose from. And they get to pick. And that's what I like about it.
I think one of my favorite episodes was the girl that had gone to she had never even been to prison. She was like in the mental institutions.
Oh, Stella.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because that was rated one of the most commented episodes of last year. It was very interesting.
Yeah, it was just like something different. You know what I mean? And like she just knew like she told her story from beginning to end. Like
I just sat back and relaxed.
Like I was like, didn't even hear you ask anything. She just told, and that was cool. You know, it's refreshing because all the prison stuff, I'm sure that's probably more interesting to people who haven't been there. It's like, I've heard all this stuff. And then I can tell when the people are like kind of bullshitting, and when they're not, it's like, oh man, like, you know what I mean? It's just a lot, you know what I mean? So it's like, I personally don't like to relive that prison stuff because it's like, you know, I don't know, man. It's like when you first get out, it's like you want, you know what I mean? But then after a while, it's like, ugh. And then it's like in the back of your mind, like I could go back at any time for anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't like it, man. I don't like that environment. You know what I mean?
Do you have like a fun or a funny story from your
plenty.
time? Give us one. Give us the golden goose of them.
Okay, so me and my boy, I'm gonna go ahead and say his name. He's gonna be mad at me, but me and my boy, Gangster Jared, we were trustees, and so this is the last time I was in jail. And so we had gotten to go. He had this job to where we worked in the kitchen, which is one of the best jobs you can have at this particular jail. And so after we get done, we could go clean up the offices, and we worked from like midnight till 10 in the morning. So then we slept during the day, which is awesome. It's a great way to do time because you sleep during all the bullshit and you're up at night when no bullshit's going on. But anyway, he got this job where he's going to clean transportation. So he's like, hey, you want to go with me? And I was like, no, man, I'm not going to go. I don't feel like going. He's like, just go. And I was like, you know what, dude, I'm going to go. So we go and clean transportation or whatever. And we're in the office and they're like, hey, can you clean behind the refrigerator or whatever? So we pull back the refrigerator. Well, it blocks the whole thing. Like they can't see in there. We look on the wall and there's all these pins, markers, you know, like all kinds of crazy shit that you can sell in the dorm for a lot of money. Like those pins and shit go for like $2 or $3. You know what I mean? 2 or 3 soups or a sweet item, whatever. So like we're putting all this shit in our pockets. You know, they can't see us, whatever. So we ended up cleaning it up, getting done. So right before we leave, the officer, whatever, I can't remember his name, but he's like, hey, the lieutenant or detective called and said, y'all need to empty everything in y'all's pockets right now and y'all won't be in trouble. And Jared kind of looks kind of like, oh shit, like nervous. But I knew what he was doing. I knew he didn't see us do anything. He's just trying to get us to talk, whatever. So he's just fucking around, like whatever. So anyway, he's like, well, I'm gonna put y'all in the metal detector. So I had like a whole box of pins and like stuck in between my, you know, they give you those shorts in the shorts, whatever. So I dug off in the bathroom that he just cleaned and put the pins on the other side of the toilet before I go to the metal detector. I'm gonna go to it and come back and get them. So when I put them down, there's wet shit all there because he just cleaned the bathrooms with the spray and just sprayed it everywhere. And like I put the pins down there, come back through, grab them, and put them back. And the box is wet. Put them back in my shorts and ended up getting a book. There's like a book sitting on the table. I asked the lady and the sergeant over there, super nice. She's like, yeah, you can take the book. So I took the book and we're going and walking down. We get back to the dorm and the officer's going to pat us down. So he pats down Jared. Everything's good. I got him right here. He's not going to touch this part. So I get back and I put my arms out. And as soon as I put my arms back, dude, pins started falling out the bottom of my jumper. Like 10 or 20 pins start falling out. And then the officer looks at me. He's like, that's not good. I was like, fuck, man. He's like, go to the shower to do a full search, whatever. So I go to the shower. I take the box and put it like up above on the shower. He never sees it for some reason. At least I don't think he sees it. And so he's writing me a disciplinary. Well, when you get a disciplinary there, I didn't know this at the time. I ended up getting a disciplinary later, but you go to BMU and like you're just stuck in a cell pretty much 24 hours a day. You come out for like 15 minutes at like 1 a.m. And so he's writing a disciplinary or whatever, and I'm freaking out because I've got it pretty much made in there and I don't want to go to fucking BMU. So I was like, what can I do? And then I had this bright idea to like cut a slit in the book. And I was just going to say the pins were in the book, whatever. So I cut the slit. He's like writing the disciplinary. I run down there. I was like, dude, I need to talk to you. And I was like, look, the pins were in this book. Like that's where they had them. They just fell out of the book. Because I don't think he saw where they fell out from. He just seen all these pins on the ground. And he's like, if I call down there and they said that you got that book from transportation, I'll cancel the disciplinary. He calls down there and the fucking sergeant's like, I hear her on the phone. She's like, yeah, he got the book from us. He's like, all right, man, you got lucky. I was like, fuck. And there's plenty more times where it's like we were in the kitchen, like these big carts, like riding around on the carts. Like I got fucking shot at with a taser because the ERT was in a bad mood or whatever. Or like people smoking in the bathroom and then the ERT comes in. There's all kinds of crazy shit that happened when I've worked in that kitchen for sure.
Yeah, I loved working in the kitchen before the guard tried to, get my biscuits. But that's a good hustle, The guys that run the kitchen control the compound.
And I don't know how it is in the feds where you're at, but where we're at, the food is fucking terrible. Like it's bad. And then they don't give you enough. Commissary is really expensive. But if you work in that kitchen, dude, you're set.
Yeah.
You get to eat everything. Like where we're at, we got to eat everything the deputies ate. You know what I mean?
So you were saying that you got a clean slate, like your record got wiped, the felonies at least.
Yeah, so when I got off of the fraud case, got off parole, everything got wiped out. And when I got the job at FedEx, they called me and was like, hey, and it was like a misdemeanor. I had gotten a protective order violation whenever I was going through divorce. I don't want to say anything bad about her, but her dad never liked me at all. And so he got her this lawyer that was, going to do anything and everything to make me look terrible. And so he recommended she get a protective order so she get full custody of the kids, which, happened. So I had that on my record, and that's what FedEx called. That's the only thing that showed up at the time was that protective order. FedEx called me about the protective order. I explained to him that I was going through divorce and this happened and, whatever, and it was cool. So, everything got wiped out.
So how does it make you feel that you were given that second choice or second chance when so many people don't get that? That I'm sure you've listened to the episodes and have sat in that chair.
Right. It felt good. I mean, it literally felt good. I thought it was everything was over, man. I never thought I would go back to jail. Like I thought like this is it. Like I wasn't doing anything illegal. I had a great job. I would always joke with people and say I don't have a job, I have a career. And I mean, it was awesome. And my family's super proud of me. Everything is just going too good. You know what I mean? Like anytime shit starts going really good in my life, I feel like something's going to happen, And something happened. And ended up like I started dating this girl, and we both have a lot of like mental health issues. And so it just was not a good mix, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say that either one of us were, the problem. I think us together was the problem. And I think one day we got into it or something, and she wouldn't get out of my car. And like, I have to go to work. Like I have to go to work. Like you're in my car. I have to go to work. So anyway, like she would not get out of my car. I'm like, I'm going to work and you could just sit in my car. So on the way there, I'm thinking like, I can't fucking have her in my car. Like, you know what I mean? At FedEx. So I dropped her off at a gas station or made her get out of my car at the gas station. Someone saw it, called the police. And somehow some bystander said I body slammed her on the ground, which never happened. And they have cameras up there. You know what I mean? So turns out the cameras don't work or something. So anyway, I go to work. I'm delivering packages, and then like I get like 2 or 3 hours later, I get a call from a manager saying, "Hey, you need to come back to the job, FedEx right now." I come back and I go in his office, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And then there's 2 cops behind me, like, and they're being dicks. They're like handcuff me, bring me to the side, like, what in the fuck? You know what I mean? They ended up booking me for domestic abuse or something like that. Domestic abuse and something else. And I tell the cop, like, this is, at first I'm like, I'm not saying anything to you because I already know, like, in my head, like, I did not do this. Like, I'm not saying anything to the dude. And then he starts saying stuff. I'm like, this is completely wrong. So I ended up, like, being like, no, that's not true. So he's like, if I go back, he doesn't tell me that the cameras don't work. And it's like, if I go back and look at those cameras, that's what I'm going to see. I was like, yes, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see me getting her out, going to work. You know what I'm saying? I didn't, whatever. And so he ended up later writing in the police report, like, what did he say? Like, Mr. Jamison didn't know the cameras work, whatever. I don't know. Can't remember. But anyway, I get booked into jail. Made bond, which was ridiculous, and I had to wear an ankle monitor. So I'm thinking like I lost my job and everything's over with that. And my awesome manager was like, no, you still got your job. We'll just have to deal with it. You're just going to have to be a package handler, until you get this all sorted out and it gets thrown out. So 6 months, and I had fun too being a package handler because I was still making the same amount I was making driving. I was just, doing a different job I loved. And they ended up dropping everything on that and got to be a driver again. So at this point, like, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm glad that's over with. You know what I mean? Like it was one little fall. And then 6 months later, I ended up going to kind of the same thing happened, except she had called him this time and I got arrested again. And then the detective made sure that I didn't have a bond. And so they took away my bond because she said she was in fear for her life, even though like what I'm saying? It was insane. Like my parents couldn't believe it. My lawyer couldn't believe it. Like it was just crazy.
So what ended up happening?
So I ended up doing a year. So they took away my bond. You can't be a trustee at that jail if you're not sentenced pretty much. And, or your bond has to be like a low amount. I don't have a bond at all. The bond that they did set was like $300,000. And I got arrested that time for, what was it? I got arrested for cyberstalking because they said I was texting her phone, which I probably was. And then what was the other one? I'm sorry, I can't remember what the other one was. It was no kind of violent crime, no kind of domestic violence. It was like cyberstalking and God, I can't remember what the other one was now. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, so they took away my bond on that, and I sat in there for a year, and I ended up having to plea out to something. I think I took, because I got arrested back to back, so it's hard for me to remember which one is which. I ended up pleading out to like 2 years. Oh, what it was criminal property damage. 8 months prior, we had gotten into an argument at her house, and she had taken one of those stove things to the side of my car, and I have like this black Charger. It was like the body perfect condition, and that I put a lot of money and time into, and she had dented it. So I was going up to her house, walked back. I was like, oh man. So I got mad, lost my fucking mind, and like pulled out a hammer and like busted out her window. This was like 8 months prior to actually getting arrested. Well, the detective made it look like it was like recent. So I knew I was going to be guilty of that, but that was like a misdemeanor, I think. And so I had to plea out to those two things. And then I sat in there for a year and I had to take like 2 years or something just to get the fuck out, you know what I mean? And this was a 23-hour lockdown for a year. I was in there for cyberstalking and criminal property damage. And that's a long time to be in jail for those two. The cyberstalking thing was like a misdemeanor before, like a couple months before I got arrested for it. They turned it into a felony. But anyway, so I get out, I do that time for that, and then I get out and like I'm not in a, I mean, I don't have the job anymore at FedEx. Like I'm now like not going to get this expunged. I think I can't remember, but I know that, you know, I'm not really in that good of a place of mind at this time. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've lost fucking everything that I worked hard for. And so anyway, I'm driving somewhere and I had no idea where the girl, they put a protective order on us. And so at this time, I don't know where, I don't care. Like, I'm not thinking about this at all, you know what I mean? And ended up driving past a car wash that I always go to, and she works there. She sees me drive past the car wash and immediately calls the police and say, like, he's come to my job or whatever. So I ended up I remember buying a motorcycle with like the little bit of money I had left over FedEx, like riding it all night the night before and like really getting some peace of mind, like everything clear. I'd gotten a job. I hadn't started, but I got an interview. I knew I was going to get it. And then the next morning, I rode all night long. Like it was during the summer too. I'm hot, sweaty. I get back to my parents' house. They're out of town. I'm staying there again. And my stepdad calls me and I don't pick it up. And he calls me again. And I was like, I got to pick it up. So I pick it up. He's like, hey, the detective just called me and they're on their way to the house to arrest you. And I had only been out of jail for 2 weeks, just after the year. I'm like, my heart just sinks like, why? He was like, they said you've been going by that girl's house. You went by her house. I was like, I haven't gone by her house. Like, what the fuck? He's like, just call the detective. And this lady hates me. This lady, I could tell, like when I was in court the first time, like she cannot stand me at all. I don't know why. You know what I mean? And so I call her up. She's like, yeah, we have video of you. Or no, what did she say? I said, hey, my stepdad just called and said that you're on your way to arrest me because you said you have video footage of me going by her house. And she was like, I never said that to him. And I was like, I know my dad's not going to lie to me. So like, what's the deal? She's like, I just need you to come in and talk. Well, that was the whole thing on the charge before that, you know, I didn't go talk to her because she had called me when I got arrested with this whole incident with her the first time. And I didn't go talk to her. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll go talk to her. Call my parole officer and like, hey, like this is happening. And she's like, well, let me look it up and see if you have a warrant or whatever. Because the detective had told me that there was a warrant for my arrest and for a protective order violation. And she looked it up. She's like, you don't have a warrant. So in my mind, I'm thinking like she's just bullshitting because she told me that she didn't tell my stepdad that, which I know he's not going to lie. So I know that's what she told him. So I think it's all bullshit. I just need to go talk to her to clear all this up. So like the next day, I go talk to her, and when she comes to get me out of the waiting room, whatever, she's got an officer with her, so I know I'm getting arrested, like no matter what. And man, it was like she wouldn't tell me the details of like what she thought. She just said that I'd been going by her job, or whatever. At this point, I don't even know where she works. Like I didn't even know like that was where she works. So I'm thinking like I'm gonna be in and out with this, you know, whatever this confusion is. So I get arrested and I'm thinking like, man, this is fucked up. I ended up doing a year on that. So my lawyer comes up to sees me and shows me the evidence they have. Literally have my car driving past where she works. I didn't pull in. I didn't wave at her. I didn't stop or anything. And then there's like, I can't remember what else it was, but it's just crazy shit. Ended up having to do like a year, and I was gonna just fight it because it was the first time I'd ever been to jail for something I really didn't do, and I'm in there for a year. Of course, like this time was a lot of fun. Like I immediately made trustee, and like I say fun, but it really was like it. I guess it was like
your time went easier.
The karma,
yeah.
The karma was like really didn't do anything. So it's like the time was super easy. And it was fun. You know, it really was. Like we had a lot of fun. Like I met a lot of cool people. And it's like I'd been there and I just got out. So my mindset was already in that, you know, whatever it is. But man, it was just crazy. And so a year goes by and I go to court and the whole time I'm not going to take anything at all because I didn't do this. And like, but the judge, they had a different judge in and he was like, you've already done your time, man. Like I'm going to run all this concurrent. It's like you can take it was a felony on the protective order. You can take the whatever 18 months or whatever it is, and you're done, whatever. So I just went ahead and pled so I could get out. And even my parole officer was like, "Man, I wish you wouldn't have did that." But in my mind, I'm thinking I just took like 2 felonies, so it was like, what's another one? You know what I mean? And yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy being there like the whole time and like knowing it's like, okay, I really didn't do this. And then having to actually plead out to something just to get out of jail was even crazier because they just throw you off. Like you'll go to court and they'll throw you off 3 months. Go back to court, throw you off. They don't offer you anything. They don't even tell you anything. They just, it's really crazy. Like the justice system is really fucked up. I don't know if it's fucked up everywhere, but it's really fucked up in Louisiana.
So do you have a record now from these new charges?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm still on parole, actually.
Was it hard to find work after again?
I haven't really tried. I've just kind of been just doing my own thing. My grandmother, while I was in jail, she had her hip. She broke her hip, and so she needs a lot of help. And I try to help her do that, you know what I mean? And I've been just doing like a lot of side stuff. So, and my goal isn't to really get a normal job like that anymore. So I don't know. It's probably going to affect it, but my plan's not to get a job like that. You know what I mean? I'm kind of want to do my own thing.
What is your plan? What does like the next 5 years look like for you?
I have no idea, man. I've been doing clothes. Like I'm pretty good at like graphic design. So I really like that. It's a very saturated business. The whole streetwear and clothing and fashion and stuff, it's so oversaturated. Like everyone thinks that they can do it. So I've been doing that. And, it's really tough. It's like I played music for so long. And so it's really hard playing music to try to get people that are important to listen to it or whatever. And it's almost exactly the same when you're trying to start a brand or anything like that. Cause it's like you have to have people wear it or, then the right people listen to it. It's super, super hard. I didn't realize it was I thought it would be easier than the music thing because music is very oversaturated, but it's not. It's almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, come up with some designs for Locked In merch maybe, and we could collaborate on something.
That would be awesome.
What would you say is your biggest piece of advice you want others to take away from hearing your story?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. If you have kids, I mean, I think the greatest piece of advice I give is don't be selfish because we're all such selfish people. We're all so just, I don't know, very selfish. And if you can recognize where you're being selfish and be a little bit more selfless, I think that everything works out a lot better whenever we put our time and investment into people we love instead of just looking out for our own selves and what we want and the whole like feeding your own desires and stuff. Like I feel like if I would have just been a lot more selfless, like I would be in a lot better place right now.
Matt, thank you for coming on the show today,
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out here and sitting down with me and sharing your story with me for the first time.
Awesome.
And safe travels back to Louisiana.
Yeah.